Hello, everybody. I've had so many technical difficulties with the streaming site, so we're still gonna go through with whatever it is that God's plan. We're still gonna go through with that. But while we're doing that, what I want to do is I want to play the theme song for Persperity podcast. So just to get us started, let's play Mindful Moments Equal Prosperous Lives. Oh, by the way, I do own rights to this music.
In the shadows we find our light. Through the struggles we will take flight. Healing hearts and mending minds. Together we'll leave the past behind. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Trauma whispers, but love will shout. In this space and truth, there's no doubt. We'll explore the depths of pain and grace, finding strength in every embrace. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives.
It's my favorite part.
Take a breath and join the ride. Together we'll walk side by side with open hearts and open minds. In this podcast space, your peace will find. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma.
I love that beat. I love that beat.
Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma. Prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives.
All right, so I do want to say that I am the one that wrote and did everything with the music. I just think it's important that my message is also put into a thing where people can vibe with as well. That they can feel like, okay, I'm listening to this music. It has a raw beat, but also at the same time, the words, and it's important that words are very powerful because how it just translates in a person's mind who has gone through trauma. I myself can really contest to that because will relate to that because a lot of things that I went through in my life were very traumatic, and those words were verbal words. So it plays a huge role in my life of what music I choose to listen to, as well as the environment that I'm in. But to start this, I want to put out there that all rights are reserved and no part of this podcast may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted of any form of any means, including photocopying, recording, or other electronics or mechanical methods without prior written permission from me or Persperity Podcast, which is an entity itself. Also, I want to put a disclaimer of just to make sure that everybody understand what this podcast is about. The information that is provided in this podcast is informational, educational purposes only. It is not intended to be substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are experiencing mental health difficulties, please consult a qualified mental health professional. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of an individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of the podcast host or any other entity. So I just wanted to start with that. To get started, I want to welcome my special guest, Rashana Freeman. Many people on her live know her. Many people on my live do not know who she is, and you probably do if you've seen pictures of her and I. I want to shed light a little bit on our story, and I'm going to give her a chance just to talk about herself as well.
Hello everyone. I'm so excited for this first podcast for Destiny and to be her first guest. So my name is Rashana Freeman, and she'll introduce who I am to her, to all of you all who don't know, and to all of my family, friends, and Facebook friends who don't know. This is who I refer to as my goddaughter, but she's really my daughter. And so we have a special relationship, a God-formed relationship, and I'm so glad to be able to share some of that today. She'll give me a moment to tell a little bit about what I do, but I'm a engineer by degree, an educator, a woman who loves God, a woman who follows God, and I am her Nia.
Nah, that is, I don't know, that's just a term that I came up with. We gonna get into that, but I call her my Nia. I also call her my mom, and we're also going to get into that as well. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, you go right ahead.
All right. So many of you know me, either from Harvest Church, that you see me just moving around and I stand off a lot or don't seem like I want to be touched. And I just want to start off this episode just talking about that. Like, what is that? What is going on with that? Why do I not want to be touched? Why is it that, I'm sorry, I'm noticing that my glasses have a glare, so I'm gonna take those off. I look better without them anyway, so it's not matter. But I just want to express what that looks like, what trauma looks like in different people, but also at the same time, what consent and boundaries look like as well. So to start off, how do we meet?
So I get to tell the story?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
All right. So for some of you, you've heard the story. Some of you have not. And many of you probably wonder what is going on. I had someone ask me just the other day, I didn't know you had a daughter. And if you know me from being, from growing up or even 10 years ago, I did not have a daughter as I do now. So as I said before, I'm a woman of God, love God. I love serving in my ministry and serving in our church. I have a heart for youth and young people. And at one point in time, I was over our college ministry. And I'm sharing this because it'll be relevant. God used that to bring us together. Destiny and I met through Harvest Church. She called Harvest Church and she was looking for some information at the college, who was over the college program per se. We didn't really have one, but I was working with the different college students. And so I got her name. And as soon as I got the name and got the call in the middle of the day, which is a little unusual, that this was a young lady who had called and who wanted to talk with someone. She was in college, but she also wanted prayer. I called. I got an unction in my spirit to call right away. It's probably a little later that day, but not much later. And for me, if any of you all know me, one of my struggles is just doing things quickly. Not right now. Anyway, she's helping me with that. But, so this was a God moment. And now, retrospect, I understand. So I called Destiny right away. And when we began to talk, I found out what she was needing. She was sharing she was needing someone to help her with her studies and all. But as we began to talk, she shared her story. And there was a quickening in me. And the Holy Spirit said, that we need to pray. Pray with this young lady. So I found out also in the story, that I was not the first person from Harvest Church that met her, and she met some other members of our church who told her about Harvest Church. They have also been instrumental in just being there for her. But as Destiny and I met, talked, and just began to help each other, because I was there to help her.
I was going to say, the two people were Amy and Jason. Shout out to them.
Yes. And I say help each other because when we met, she automatically, shared some things she saw with me, and she was just saying, thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for sharing. But also, as we talked, went on, she shared, there's something in you that you have for me. And I normally, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there for young people. I'm going to be there. And if there's a quickening in my spirit. Long story short, time went on. I was there consistently. She was there. That connection was there. The moment we prayed on the phone that first day, there was a special connection. But as we continued to just get to know each other, there was more. There was more there. So she asked some things of me, and I was willing. But even in that, I began to get a witness in my spirit that God was saying, yes, consistently be in this young lady's life. I didn't know what was to come. I didn't know what it looked like, but it's obedience. And I'll say this, there was something about 2 or 3 years prior to that where we had a what we call an encounter at our church. I was asked to give a message, or asked to do one of the lessons. And in that, as anyone who ever has had to do a lesson, you always know God speaks to you first when you're doing it. Out of that, one of the things was when God is asking you to do something, it's not going to be convenient. It very well may not be convenient. And out of that, that was something God had used to prepare me, that he had given me an assignment. And so in the council of friends and family, I really realized that destiny was my assignment. And then God knitted our hearts together. So I could go on about different things. We have different parts of that story, but she even knows I tried to not hold on to that assignment. I tried to walk away from that assignment, and she does not let me forget it. But in that walking, in that time and moment, I went to God and I asked a friend, and that friend said, "What is God saying?" And what I had to realize was God was saying, I did not tell you to do this your way. I told you and I sent you to be there for her, and I sent her to you for you all to allow me to do this my way. So I had to surrender immediately to whatever God was saying, and consistently throughout the years. And it has been 7 years. 7 years. And she has been a blessing to me, a blessing I didn't know I needed. And we've had our ups and we've had our downs. And that's how I know this is not a me thing. This is a God thing.
So she didn't tell her version of it.
You told me first. You gave me the mic first.
Yeah, I did. So let me give the juicier version of everything. So but she says correct. The real moment that took place where God showed up and showed out was the next day when I got off work. They had asked, it was Amy, Jason, and my mom, Rashana. They said, let's meet at the High B. Because at that time I was living in Gladstone. Right, like, whereas the Walmart and the High B is right across from each other. And I had an apartment there. And God just showed up and showed out. During the time, I had just got my first apartment. I suffered from homelessness as a teen. I had really, I didn't have the tools. I didn't have a lot of things. And I just had a lot of people judging me. And to be honest, a lot of people that was judging me is the ones that look like me. I'm like, well, I'm black, you black. But the people that were not judging me and supporting me were people of different races. And mostly the Caucasian race. And it's not, now I don't want to start stuff with talking about that it's a race thing. What I'm saying is that we don't support each other as much as we should. And pour into each other's children when we feel like they're not getting certain things. Instead, we judge them and put them down. And we got to steer away from that, because that is enabling them to feel disabled in their trauma. And I felt so disabled in mine. So that night when we were sitting there talking, what really helped me and shed light on a lot of things was that Amy and Jason saw me. So did she. But, so did my mom. But also at the same time, it was like, okay, I needed things. So they were like, okay, we in High B. Get whatever you want. So I got a few things that I really needed. Detergent, toothbrush, toothpaste. Remind you, I live in an apartment with nothing besides a bed and a dresser. And I was grateful for that. I had a job, but the job I had wasn't putting too much on the food on the table and different things. But that night after we prayed and all, and they brought me the stuff. They invited me to church on Sunday. I went to church. And from there, Miss Rim and I, we kind of started having a deeper connection where Amy and Jason kind of faded off. I think they were the people that was needed to connect us. Because let me go back. So they showed up in my job. I worked at Popeyes, and that's how I met Amy and Jason. Because Amy came in and she was they messed up her order in the driveway. Just telling you. If y'all know Amy, y'all know she was mad. And our cousin Chicken was mad because she had to come in because she was on her way to Bible study. And I just knew at that moment, I just asked her, I was like, oh, you heading to Bible study? It was Wednesday. I don't know why I was asking, but I just asked. And she said, yeah. And she told me about the church. So that's how I reached out. But just divine connection with them just connecting us. And then that started from there. And also just the fact of just God just showing up and showing out from that moment to, where this moment is. And just who she's been. So like now I'm about to get into more like detail of like some things I'm gonna do. Like my trauma stretches all the way back from a newborn baby. I love my birth mother, but it's a lot of times she told me she never wanted kids. She just never wanted me or my siblings. Not to bash her. I can appreciate somebody being honest. It took me a long time and a lot of therapy to realize that I can respect a woman that's honest to me rather than lie to me. And it's hurtful sometimes, some of the things she does say, but I know there's love in there for me. I am a product of a drug dealer and a woman that never wanted kids. And my birth father passed away in 2022 in December, December 15th to be exact. And I just got back from my fall semester at Clark Atlanta University. I felt like everything was just down for me. Like at that point, I was sad because I lost somebody that didn't want to be a father. To only imagine that you have two people that brought you into this world that did not want you. That's hurtful. It really did. It was like, it hit me to the fact of a part of me died. Nobody talks about how a part of you dies when you lose a parent. And it's just like, he wasn't a parent. He wasn't a father. And he didn't want me to. But when he died, thoughts of having a father died. And I didn't understand why God had put me in that position, even though I spent my whole entire life questioning, trying to understand why. Also like, because I'm about to get real specific, like as with details of some of the things I've gone through. Also, I wrote a book too about my life story. It's called The Rose That Persevered, and you can purchase it on Amazon. I go into further detail some of the things I've gone through. Not to out and put anybody down in my family, but to give people the understanding that your voice is a start of healing. But it's like my birth mother, I'm her first child. Well, I'm her second child, her first daughter. And I just, when she was pregnant with me, she did everything. She didn't care what she was doing. It was whatever. My grandmother that raised me, which is my dad's mom, she would tell me some stories and a lot of different things to help me understand sometimes, but also to hurt my feelings about my birth mother. Because I wanted to know. Because I was adopted by my grandmother, my dad's mother, when I was 4. I had just turned 4 years old. Excuse me. And I was legally adopted. So in the system, it says that I was adopted. And during that process of adoption, my grandmother was a grandparent of the state. She had to be a foster grandparent. So she fostered my brother and I no other kids. My older brother, which is my mom's kid as well. And I have other siblings that got taken away and my aunt raised them. So it was crazy dynamics there. But as my birth mother, again, she didn't want to be a mother. So from that, those dynamics, I'm healed enough to talk about it. From like newborn to 3 years old, I didn't know until I was like 16 that my grandmother that raised me pulled me out on the front porch and she told me, she was like, he molested you for that a long amount of time. And that hit me like, I understand why I'm awkward in conversations with people, because from that time frame to, from like the time she adopted me all the way up, I was in therapy. I worked with about 10 plus professionals to help me function into society. And that made me feel abnormal. I'm going to school. I can't go to school like all the other kids. I'm going to the counselor's office and I'm doing after school things and I'm doing things like where it's just me or just a few other kids. And then there's somebody designated to me. And then I'm having somebody pick me up after school. And then somebody pull me out of classrooms. And I'm going to doctors that have dolls that got genitals on them. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, this didn't make sense until I was 16. And at 16, the reason why my grandmother told me that was because my grandmother had took her to court and she wanted to know, my birth mother had took my grandmother to court because she wanted to get custody. And I was like, kind of taken back because I didn't understand the whole concept of why. Out of nowhere, I always wanted to know who my mom was and stuff like that. I vaguely remembered her because I also went through hypnosis as a kid because that's how tragic the trauma was. It was that tragic because they was saying that I would not be able to function in society. I would not be able to do a lot of things. I wouldn't be able to be my own individual. They were talking about payees and disability this, disability that. But I'm telling you, but God, look at me.
Yes.
But 16, I meet my birth mother and we're in court and swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, I'm excited to embrace this lady. Just come to find out it was less about me and more about her. And I had to find that out for myself because my brother was mad at me. He was like, you don't want to be with that lady because there's things that she had done to him that he just completely, he hates her. And I didn't understand, so I had to understand it for myself. So when I first got the chance to spend time with her, the judge gave her no rights. He told her no. I had my own lawyer. Here I am, 15 at the time. Well, I was actually 15. I had my own lawyer. My brother was 16. We got this lawyer. They're talking to us, consulting with us, telling us, hey, what do you want? What do you think? You guys are of age. And I ended up telling them I didn't want to live with her because I seeing how my grandmother was acting and my mom was acting, my brother was acting. And from there, they gave her visitation rights if my grandmother said she could. And if I wanted to. So it had to be mutual. And if she allowed me to leave on the weekends, I could go with her. So the first thing she did was took me to go see that man. And her dad. And it blew my mind because when he touched me, I did not understand that touch. What? You just touched my back. And that it was like a current went through my body of memories and all these different things all at once. And I was terrified. And this woman is supposed to be my mom. She's telling me, get off of me. Why are you acting like that? And when I met her, I realized also I didn't have a connection. When they are in the hospital, they'd be like, okay, skin to skin with the father, skin to skin with the mother. I don't know if I had skin to skin with her. Because from my grandmother who raised me, which is my dad's mom, told me, she just was never present enough to want to be my mother. So I believe my grandmother actually... My birth mother did not raise me. She did not name me. Somebody else named me, and I have my dad's last name. And again, I don't want to bash her. These are stories that I've already told before her, and I have an understanding of a lot of things. She's been through a lot of trauma herself, and it's her trauma to tell herself. But trauma does not give you an excuse not to be a parent. It does not give you an excuse to hurt your kids. It does not give you an excuse to have a cop out that, hey, I went through a lot, so they should understand me, and I feel like that's a lot that I dealt with and I've been dealing with my birth mother. But to carry on from that, 16, after meeting him, he touched my back, whatever. I go back to with my grandmother. About 2 weeks later, he calls my grandmother's house, and my grandmother's like, I don't want him calling here and so on. She's going off and she's like, get out here on the front porch. I'm terrified. I don't know what's about to happen. And she's in tears telling me what this man, just summing up what he did. She didn't go into detail. She just said, he did this and this and this and this time. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, really? And then she walked off. So I was left with all that hurt and that pain. I did not understand. I was like, she left me with this. Like, why would you leave me with that? I'm 16. The only friends I ever had was therapists and psychiatrists and all these different people that they felt like would help me function in society. And I got these different people telling me these things. Now I'm going to therapy and it's shedding light. And my therapist just like, okay, well, you found out. So how do you feel? How do we process this? What you mean? I'm angry. I'm angry. I couldn't even process it. I wasn't hugged. My grandma didn't hug me. She didn't show affection. She didn't say, let's go get some ice cream, or hey, let's just take some breathing exercise. She left me with that. And from that, it came to the understanding that I come from people that don't care to see me, or not just me, but they don't come from a lot of love and care. And I had to find that in myself. But to flip that as well, I was living with my grandmother and I was subjected to a lot of trauma too. I didn't know that I was going from one trauma, being subjected from a baby all the way to 3, to being adopted, to living with my grandmother and being neglected, all the times, hey, I'm not going to feed you for a week to 2 weeks because I'm going to punish you. Or, hey, I'm just going to beat you or hit you in the head with a shoe and make your head bleed or whatever. I'm going to talk to you crazy. I'm going to make you feel less than yourself. Like, there's this book called, The Little Boy Called It, I think it is. Child Called It. I related so much to that book. I read it so much when I was young because that was my story. I was just like, oh my gosh. It helped me also understand that somebody was, I don't know if the story was real or not, but it made me feel like somebody saw me. Just like the movie Precious, or just like the Pursuit of Happiness, just looking at those different challenges. I was like, I'm going to make something big of myself like Pursuit of Happiness, but I'm also going to walk away from my trauma like, Precious did. And I those are just things that encouraged me, but I'm living in trauma my whole entire life with blood relatives that's supposed to look like me, like they're my family. They're supposed to be. They're supposed to love me, supposed to care for me, but they're not. They're physically abusing me, mentally abusing me, emotionally abusing me, and just like my grandmother subjected me to my room, my home, like a huge portion of my life. So I didn't have interpersonal communication. I didn't have the ability to start conversations with people or to make friends or to, I didn't even know what a hug was. I'm gonna be honest with you, it was so weird. Like my grandma, she never hugged me. I don't remember being hugged as a baby or just being embraced and taken in and talked about saying I love you. It was always, you're stupid, you're dumb, I hate you. Your mother never wanted you. Your father never wanted you. You're nothing. It's just all of that. And the truth was neither one of them did. But I also didn't have a family member that was fighting for me on my behalf. I had a grandmother a lot of times that was just really like, she talked bad about me to other people. Like she's horrible. I can't stand her. I don't want her to eat my food. Remind you, I'm the one bringing in a lot of stuff. I was on so many disability. I was on disability, getting so many foster care checks and all these different things, but yet I can't touch certain food and I can't eat, and she's starving me. And this is like, again, true story. It's in my book. And I'm realizing like I can't take that no more. So I had, to sum it up, I escaped my grandmother. Except that situation when I was 16. I had to turn back around until I was 17. I was legally emancipated in the state of Missouri. 17 is legally emancipated. They can't tell you when to leave. They can't tell you when to go. So from there, I escaped. And I was in different shelters. And high school, my senior year of high school, I was homeless. I was in shelters like Youth in Need. I was in shelters in St. Louis. I'm talking about Covenant House down there on St. Louis Avenue. I'm from Wentzville, Missouri, by the way. Grew up a little bit in St. Louis, but I'm Wentzville, Missouri. Born in Lake St. Louis. So, yeah. But down in St. Louis, in the Covenant House, Miracle, all these different shelters as a teenager, and having the school, contacting the school transportation person, having them help me get back and forth to school because I wanted to finish my education no matter what. And feeling terrified and turning back to my grandmother's, and then coming back and the trauma still being there. The verbal abuse, the physical abuse, all of these abuses. And I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. So fast forward, I graduate high school and get accepted to Park University. And then I come up to Park University. And I remind you, when I came to Park University, I had nothing. Parents moving me in. My birth mother drove me, but she was verbally abusive the whole time. She talked to me sideways and told me I was lying, I didn't get accepted, and I didn't have the same dynamics as everybody else. You would think you would have blankets and all these other things. It's college experience. I'm scared. I'm terrified. I don't have anybody. I'm in an unfamiliar place, and I have clothes that are put together like pieces that don't fit together, basically, like puzzle pieces, because they're shelter clothes. And I got people judging me. Oh, she's I didn't know how to do my hair, because my grandmother, when she did want to do for me, she would get my hair done, but then she would actually try to punish me by cutting it or whatever she felt like she needed to do to make me feel bad or whatever. But I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So I had people telling me, oh my God, she's gay, she looks horrible, she's this and that. And I'm just like, look, you have no idea that I'm wearing hand-me-down underwear from the shelter. Underwear that they literally took and that was donated or whatever, that somebody left or whatever, and they washed and they gave it to me. And I'm grateful for what I had, but I had people that was judging me, had no idea that what I just needed was somebody just to be there. But I was also angry, and I couldn't finish my education during that time, so I had to put my education aside. They actually told me, don't come back until you do not come back until you are stable. So I left Park. I was homeless in Kansas City. I stayed at City Union Mission. Not gonna get into the conversation about that organization. I stayed in different other shelters. I was homeless when I came to Kansas City from 2015 all the way until 2017. And it was hard. It was hard being homeless somewhere that you didn't know, and I tried out different churches and that I felt like that could possibly help me or assist me or whatever. And because I really didn't need help. I didn't have guidance. I didn't have all these things. So when you look like a certain thing, people are going to judge you. They're going to talk about you. They're going to put you down. They're going to make assumptions. They're going to gossip about you. They're going to lie. And I was just like, all these people lying on me is no different than what I came from. You're not trying to hear me. You're just trying to judge me. And also it didn't help too, because people were upset because I didn't let them touch me. First off, I didn't come from a family that hugged. And I also didn't have good touches in my life. I was physically abused by my brother too while I was living with my grandmother. He literally, you talking about domestic violence, would punch me in my face and in my head and knock me unconscious, whatever he felt like he needed to do when he got upset and mad. And my grandmother did nothing. And I was terrified a lot of times. Hiding literally in the closet of my room sometimes because I felt like he was going to break through my door and do whatever he was doing. So I'm just like, okay, these people making me all these assumptions. Hey, I don't want you to touch me. But it's just like, yeah, I really don't, because it's foreign. A hug was foreign. It took me a while to allow her to hug me. And there's times where I'm just like telling her I'm overstimulated. Please don't hug me. Please don't. And I want people too to understand, if you're on here and you're a person I talk to and I say I love and care about you, or you an auntie or mentor or whatever, it's never personal. And if I do not hug you when I see you, if I do not acknowledge you, it's never personal. It's because I'm literally overstimulated. And I feel like if I hug you, somebody else is going to come back and hug me forcefully. And that's happened to me multiple times. And it got to the point where somebody got so upset that it felt like assault because they grabbed my arm. And that bothered me. So that made me step back and realize, oh no, if I don't feel safe, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be right up under her at church, because there's going to be people that's trying to come at me. I'm not saying that you're bad people. I'm just saying consent is important.
And that's one thing. And she's very, that's so truthful, because even just this weekend, even just Sunday, I reached for her hand, and she kind of pulled back, and I got to a place I was like, okay, what are you doing? What's wrong? What's going on? But we later had a conversation. She said, I was just overstimulated. I just didn't feel, and I even have to know that this is something that has to truly be, it's a walk, and you have to understand that everybody's experience is different. And we don't know, if you don't know what people have been through, you don't know what people have been through. And we sometimes, just in our world, make assumptions that everyone should be like us. Everyone should feel like us. They should think like us. They should react and act like us. And I have been guilty of that, especially as an educator, because you begin to, you take that position of teaching people how to do. And so I, in my mind, think I'm teaching people how to act, how to be. And with her, even knowing the role that God said for me to play in her life, I really had to find out, what was it that I was to give her? It wasn't everything that I was to give her. I wasn't to teach her how to be everything, how to interact with people all the time. And I had to learn how to wait for her to ask, and many times. And so that's so true. That's so real. And if you are encountering anyone who, well, first of all, let me just say this to my generation and the generation before me. I'm 54 years old. Yes, I know I look good, but I'm 54 years old as of this past September. And our generation and generations above, we did not express ourselves the way the generation after us does. but we also didn't encounter many things that they have encountered to the extent they have encountered them. I know that many of us have the stories of having suffered abuse or having, and I thank God that I don't have that story, and I'm not trying to be there to have that story. But what we don't realize is that there have been some compiling of trauma in many generations to the point where we get down to generations just under us and further, that there is so much hurt and pain in some of our kids and youth and young adults, and they are much more verbal about it. They are much less tolerant about it, and it's not wrong. It's not wrong, and we have to be open to hear them. We have to be open to understand. And I'm not saying this like I know, because we have had many back and forth. And this is one reason I say that she has been a gift to me, because I have been in my own world. I didn't have to experience that in my world. I didn't have to know that in my world. And so I've had my own set of issues and trauma and, things. But now I learn to listen and to hear, and I'm still learning. And that makes us even more able to touch, able to love each other, able to love one another, able to love the next person, able to allow God to use us to do whatever he wants to do through us. I had to get out of the way. I had to get out of the way of what Rashana thought she saw, what Rashana thought she could fix, what she thought she was supposed to do, and hear God. And even when it didn't feel good, I had to step back and allow God to use me to do and say whatever, even if it was just hug me. Sometimes she'd say, Nia, just hug me. Nia, just listen to me. Nia, just be here. And Nia, don't say, I don't need to hear that. I just need you to listen. And I had to learn that. And I am learning that. But we have to do that. And that's love.
Yeah. Because it's like, a lot of times, I know her family, I'll come to family events and they be like, why she there? And all this and that. And sometimes I be praying and hoping that some people will be understanding that sometimes what we want answers to is not what we want the answer to. I had to tell somebody that a couple weeks ago. One of my aunties, it's like, you don't want the answers to what you're asking. It's like, to ask somebody something, you got to be prepared for what they're about to say. Like, she asked me something concerning myself, why I don't, she asked me, she said, why don't you call your birth mother mom? You don't call her mom? I was like, no, I don't. And she gave it, I told her, I said, you don't want to know the answer. You don't want to answer. She said, I wouldn't ask. And then when I told her, she was like, okay. Because it could be heavy. And it's just like, that's what this podcast space for. It's for that heaviness. It's for the understanding. So if you're watching and this is not your cup of tea, I understand. If it's triggering, I understand. That's why I put the disclaimer on there. It's supposed to be something where it's raw. It's understood. It's not trauma bonding. It's literally, hey, I went through these things. I'm trying to give this direction and understanding that, hey, despite that I've gone through these things, I don't look like it. But also, I'm still healing. Because I still believe that healing, I believe 100% healing takes a lifetime. Because once you heal from one thing, you're going to heal from another thing. Because it's a domino effect. Because when I have been healing for many different things that have happened to me when I was younger, it has opened up different things as an adult. Because now I'm just like, okay, I'm healed. But then I realize, like, why am I irritated? Why am I frustrated? Why I don't want that person to touch me? Why is that bothering me? And it's just like, I don't foresee myself to ever be a person where I would allow different people in my space, or it's 100%. And not just saying that, but that's also something that I've discussed in therapy. And they're just like, well, hey, it's a comfortability. And it's also a spiritual thing that I'm learning as well. Which been praying to God for God to send me somebody that can help me understand my spiritual gifts. Because from my understanding, God gives his biggest challenges to the ones that are called. And I know that I'm called to do so many great things, such as podcasts and many different other things. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful to have this space, and I'm grateful to have the people in my life that understand and that do love and care about me, that when I'm in spaces, they don't judge me. They embrace me, whether that is them not hugging me and just saying, hey, Destiny, that matters to me, because you get me and you understand me. You're not trying to force things on me. And people are trying, we don't like that. We don't want to be forced because we've already been forced our whole entire life. So why would we want to be forced again? And it's not a white people thing to want to go to therapy. It's not a white people thing to express your feelings. It's not a white people thing because I express my trauma the way I have expressed my trauma on this podcast. What it is people walking through healing, and giving people that understanding that where you are right now and it's not where you're always going to be. Because when I was homeless, and actually when I was in my room at my grandmother's and I was contemplating wanting to take my life, God spoke that scripture and spoke the scripture to me, and I would never forget the scripture. I quote it all the time. John 4:24. God is spirit, and they that believe in God must believe in God in spirit and in truth. Because that was his promise to me. And that very day, that moment that I got up from God, I heard God speak to me. And that very moment that I got up from that prayer, I was just like, because on my knees, God told me, he was just talking to me. He told me to pray. I was crying out. I said, God, I'm done. I'm done. I'm about to just take my life. I'm done. I don't want to be here no more. This abuse that I'm living with my grandmother is too much. I can't do this. I'm weak. And I was weak also because I hadn't ate in like a week. But I remember him just telling me, get up. I said, I'm hungry. He said, get up and go ask her for something to eat. First time I was scared. I didn't know what she was going to do. She was going to hit me or she was going to tell me to put me out like she usually does or whatever. I don't know. And she told me, yeah, you can go eat. And I remember I went crazy. Because she had just got done getting the food stamps. And I went crazy in there. And I remember I ate so much that I choked on a piece of cake. Because I literally, I was so excited to eat. And I was terrified. I was terrified that was the last meal I was going to get. And that's another thing to go to. When I first connected with her and we went to eat, when I tell you I was eating like somebody was going to take it from me, was I not?
She was, yeah.
And she told me, she said, there's more where that comes from. And I didn't understand how deep my trauma was until that is happening. Sometimes I do it. And she'd be like, look, you're not there no more. You're here. It's okay. It's more. And if we don't have more, we can get more. It's okay.
Right.
And I realized that was that was a trauma thing. But again, just to sum it up, give people grace, give people understanding, because I'm willing to extend the same thing. Even if you're not trying to extend it to me, I'm just a person that's going to distance myself to try to, what they say? I'm trying to scope out the person. I'm trying to see what's going on before I actually go out there. Yeah, I'm trying to just understand, like, hey, they going to attack me or they going to say to me whatever it is, So that's just me and where I'm at. But I just want to ask my mom some questions.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say, you talked about healing, and you are making great strides in your healing journey. And for anybody who met Destiny when I met Destiny in 2017, anybody who's been around us, anybody who's seen her, I have a friend, Brenda, who she saw her when I was at her house and we did a FaceTime. And she saw her smile because she was away at school. And she said, look at her. Look at her. Look what God has done. You can just see her transformation when she truly began to walk in her healing. And it was a journey. But I'm asking you, just in that, because there are some things I know you've told the story about, just the people in your life, significant people in your life who have hurt you and were part of that trauma in your life, but you've made some great strides to have good relationships with them. And that's something that was a prayer of mine. But talk a little bit about how you were able to get there.
In those relationships.
Yes.
Whew. I think the first...
With your mom and your grandmother.
Oh, you talking about with the relationships with them? Oh my gosh, our relationships are so much better because with my birth mother and my grandmother who raised me, because I hold no expectation of them. I had to realize that what I went through, yes, they gave me that trauma, that experience, but at the same time, I have to love the people that help create me in an aspect, because I'm I'm the one that I feel like is chosen to heal that the trauma that's in the DNA and help alter that, because I'm a big nerd when it comes to science stuff. Because well, when it comes to the psychological and science, that DNA is altered when trauma is introduced, and it's I'm gonna get into that some other podcast. We didn't talk much about that, but just to sum it up, but
That's her psychology background. She has a minor in psychology now.
yeah, and future the Master of Science in Cyber Psychology, which is cyber security from a psychological perspective. I'm a nerd when it comes to technology, so that, yeah. But like, I just had to stop seeing them for my hurt and my pain that I was in, because that's not fair to them. It's not fair to constantly saying, you do this, you do that, you hurt me, you this and that. That's in the past. It is the past, but the past is for me to heal from, not to constantly put that down their throat, because then I'm pushing expectation on them. You need to go heal, and it's doing nothing for me. They can go heal, and I'm still gonna tell them that it's their fault. You know what I mean? That's the still thing I was doing, but I had to stop that. Even when my birth, father passed away, my dad passed away. My grandmother, she left me out of the planet at the funeral. I didn't even know he was sick. I didn't know anything. They planned the funeral and everything, and then it ended up they needed my signature in order to sign off on him getting cremated. I showed up early. My mom came down with me, Sherman did, and we went to the funeral home. I signed all that stuff, and I asked them about a paper to override all my siblings. Just to put that out there, I have 23 siblings, and I'm not playing. My birth father, like I said, he was a drug dealer, but at the same time, he was a man that loved women. And yeah, so I trying to get that done with all my siblings, like trying to override them. And my grandmother, this is a story of how we got to the place we are. She needed me. They all needed me in the long run, because my older brother, he is incarcerated right now. The same older brother that was abusive, but again, we have dialogue, and I don't put blame on him for what he's done and tell him those different things that he's done. That's for God to convict him. But he could do nothing. So I was the one that put myself out there to do what needed to be done. But yeah, I show up to the funeral services and everything, and everybody starts to tell me, everybody basically is not showing me love. I had to deal with his death on my own. Well, actually with her. After the services, this is something like we were driving we went to St. Louis for his services. And I would say not even 30 minutes down the road, she stops and she pulls over, and she's just tears coming down her eyes, and she's just like, I'm proud of you. She said, because what I saw in that room was people that didn't see love. They didn't have love and care for you. Everything that, the things you shared with me. And you stood strong in that. And I stood strong for my grandmother. The same person that abused me, that neglected me, said all these different things about me that I had escaped from. And I remember I showed up. I had groceries. I had money. I had all that stuff. I checked up on her. And I started building with my grandma, just being able to have different dialogues or conversations with her. And she started opening up to me. And then she apologized to me last year. When somebody apologizes to you when they cost you the most trauma, you tend not to believe them. And for me, it's not that I did not believe my grandmother. It was something that I was shocked at. Because years prior, I had went and I had told her, I said, you hurt me growing up. I said, you hurt me physically, mentally, emotionally. My grandma, all of them, she never sexually, but all of those. I was like, you really hurt me. And she looked at me, she said, I did you a favor. They didn't want you. Not to badmouth my grandmother, but she said that. And it hurt bad. But here it is, years prior, I'm in this place where I got my second degree. I'm working on my second degree. I'm at Clarkland University. Shout out, go Panthers. I'm in college. I'm got my different internships. I've been exposed to so many different places. I'm in DC at the Pentagon. I'm doing all these different things, and I my resume and my certifications, everything's up. And I'm noticing that our conversation is getting a lot better. And next thing I know, she's apologizing. She's telling me I'm sorry. She's like, I don't want to go into detail. She said, but I'm sorry. She said, it's something about how God turns it around where you end up needing a person that you have done wrong to. And I'm just listening to my grandmother, just talking, just saying all these things. And I'm just like, wow. And I said, thank you, Grandma. I said, thank you. I appreciate that. Because the time that she gave me the apology, I didn't need it. I didn't, because I had moved on and with love and understanding. Because what she's taught me since I met her is that we move with love. And even if I don't have love in this area, I'm going to always have love here. And I stopped expecting that from my grandmother. When she gave me that, it opened up a different level of me understanding that I see I see my grandmother for somebody that has gone through trauma as I. And for my birth mother, it's just learning to not put expectation on her, because she's going to be who she is. And her growth is determined by her seeking her relationship with God, and as well as her wanting it. But again, there are two people, not just two people, the even my birth father and him passing there. My relationships are good with them because I hold a level of love and care for them in grace, because I want the same thing extended, but I also hold boundaries. So when my birth mother, she go off on a whole rampage, I tell her I'll talk to you in about 2 to 3 days, maybe a week, a couple months, and we come back to it, and she a little bit better. Those there that know her, she's a comedian.
Yes, and I am proud of you. I really am. I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of her because when we first met and first came into my life, the anger that she had was something that she thought she would never be able to get over and release. But what I saw, there were times when we would pray at night. And even though she was angry, her prayer was for her family. Her prayer was that her mother would get whatever she needed. And her grandmother, she was even grateful that her grandmother did take her when nobody wanted her, even with the abuse. But she was angry. And it was confusing at first, so I'm sharing to anybody who has to be in a life with someone who's walking through that type of trauma. It's not our place to tell them how to feel. It's just our place to stand and be there. Because I tried at times, but there was something that would not let me. She used to get angry at me because I wouldn't get angry at her mother, and I wouldn't be angry at her grandmother. And it wasn't for me to be angry. The things that she told me, did I believe her? Yes. How? Because by the Holy Spirit, I knew she was telling the truth. And to anybody out here who heard her, knew her story, and thought she was lying, that was your choice. Because you didn't ask God. And now I can sit here and say, I've talked to her mother. I've talked to her grandmother. I've met her family. And everything is true. But you see, but God. But what God has done. But we have to be at a place where we actually just stand there and ask the Holy Spirit at every moment, what are we to do? How do we agree with them in what they're asking? How do we agree with the Holy Spirit in what He wants for us to share with them? Again, it's not easy, but it's not us. And without that, I'm so proud of her now. And when she first called and said, when she first said she wanted to take groceries to her grandmother and money to her grandmother, and she wanted to make sure her grandmother was good, it brought tears to my eyes. And when she was there at that funeral, this baby stood up there next to her grandmother when everybody else that's been there were just there. But she was the one that was her grandmother's rock when she was thought to be the one that would never be the rock. And so that's God. We never know who God has His hand on and what His intent is. But if we are ever privileged to be a part of those lives, we have to be sure we keep our mouths off of people and we just ask God, who is this person? And what is my role in their life? I don't know who that's for. That's for somebody. Yeah. That's for somebody. This And what God is doing in her life is nothing but God.
Yeah.
Nothing but God.
It took many people. Shout out to Miss Kaisha Mosey. She helped me realize that embracing my hair before I had locks.
Yes.
And just her patience, because my hair was something crazy. And shout out to
Kai!
that conversation that night. Auntie Sure, I know you watching. Shout out to that conversation we had that very first night I met you in Harvest Church parking lot. We was in my mom's car.
Yes.
Even with I call her Auntie Hannah, Karen Hannah, my funny auntie, the one that I could just completely
call out to support team.
Just be crazy loud with and be funny. A lot of people be like, "Oh my gosh, Destiny, like she had no personality. She looked mean all the time." No, I'm actually very down to earth, fun, and loving. I like to joke around, but I'm instantly a person when I'm around in environments that I don't know. I'm reclusive, like that little kid that see their parent and they just gotta find that. I'm going to find my safe space, and my safe space is know who they are. And if I designate you as a safe space, I never probably will tell you. But it's no, if I'm inching close, you my safe space, because I need to be grounded, and there's some stuff going on that I don't understand. And part of that's my inner child, because I learned that my 3-year-old self jumps out because I never got a chance between that age to be 3, or that chance to be a toddler, to be a kid, to be a teenager. So sometimes that giggly side come out, that fun side come out, that side comes out like, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling safe. And I've had the opportunity to grow in, with being 3 years old and with Miss Freeman. And I'm grateful for that. I really am grateful. I'm grateful for our relationship. I'm grateful for just, again, those people that I've mentioned, that are aunties, the new aunties, Glenda Handy, new auntie, Brenda Barrett, new auntie, we working on it. But just different people that have come in and Auntie Ava, I did not leave you out. I promise I didn't leave you out. Just kidding. Just those people that y'all understand that when I put that label on there, that means a lot to me. And that's important. Oh, Uncle Chris too, Christopher Anderson. Those things matter because I never had a family. And the dynamics to me, they don't have to be perfect. So it's just like, I'm calling you all of that. That means I see in you that what you could pour into me as well. And if it's not mutual, I understand. Like, even with some people are not supposed to be on my support team or in my area or just be there. But I'm open, and I know that there's so much that God has for me, but it's just not. It's don't just stay with the people that are connected to me right now, and it's gotta, Oh yeah, and no, I'm not fit to talk about her right now. She's talking about my pops. Dude, that's a long story behind that. He's a father figure in my life, but all those people, like it's time to add more people, and I'm open to adding more people. But first, I got to be honest with myself and say, hey, trauma has not been easy. It has not. I'm 30 years old, and the hardest thing at 30 that I had to embrace is so much that God has done for me. And it's so difficult because I'm grateful, but also I'm just like, this new level that you're taking me to, what I had learned in trauma, the exposure in trauma and the exposure to this healing area and all this stuff, I don't know what to do with that. So sometimes trauma and healing clash. And sometimes I'm like, I try my trauma by my healing. And I'll be like, what? Okay, what you think you're going to do? You going to tell me that I'm nothing, but I'm great. And sometimes I let that go head to head because I want to see the outcome of that. And I know the outcome is going to be, I'm going to push through because I persevere. Anybody know my favorite word is persevere. I'm going to persevere. And as this shirt says, I'm a generational curse breaker. Yeah. Shout out to Terrica Lynn Smith, which is
mentorship.
Yeah, mentorship, property, real estate development, all that stuff. So some other stuff that I'm also getting into. Generational wealth. But yeah, shout out to all these good people, the new people that's coming, even the people that's watching, the people that stay tuned this whole entire time. I had technical difficulties. This won't always be the setup of the dynamics. It's gonna grow, and I believe what God's gonna do with this is it's gonna be a multi-million-dollar thing because it's gonna be a blessing for other people. Because I have so many ideas for people that have gone through trauma and tumultuous circumstances. Not just talk about our stories, but a place for us to express the things in a healthy way. So
And
Yeah.
you've been talking about that for years. You started out talking about having a place for people who've gone through trauma to be able to, number one, come together and share and feel safe. You started out your motivational speaking. She started out being a motivational speaker. This is before she went on back to school and college and got her degree. So I don't want anyone to think that she's just saying, oh, she wants to get out here and talk about herself. She has been telling me this since we met in 2017. That was part of her book. She said, I need to get this out so other people can understand that what I went through, but they can see and they can tell their story. She has so many other ideas about helping people tell their story. Some I have to tell her to stop talking about it until she patents it and she doesn't put it out there for somebody else to take. But I'm telling you, this is not just, and I'm seeing God move and get and bring this out in her. And so know that when there's a gift, the gifts of God are without repentance. So when God gives someone and he puts something in them, if they surrender and submit, despite what they go through, and if they submit to the people around them that he puts in their lives, then it will come to pass. It will come to pass. And right now, you're seeing the beginnings of the things that he's put into her come to pass. But her heart has always been to help others who have gone through trauma. And so that's important for me to share because, again, I'm protective. I'm mama now. I'm mama bear. I don't always act like that in terms of protecting her. But for anybody who's thinking she's just out here wanting to do something, out here wanting to be like somebody, no, she has been talking about this since I met her. And so know that this is only the beginning. The book that she wrote in 2019, she didn't just write that yesterday. She wrote the book in 2019.
Actually, no, I started writing that when I was 7.
Oh,
I actually was
published in
documenting.
2019.
So, yeah, I published, but I was documenting my life story. So, writing was my friend. That was my go-to. So, I started documenting my trauma when I was 7. Officially felt like I was done when I was 24. And God said it was time. I had a publisher reach out to me. It was like, hey, you write some beautiful stuff on Facebook, your poems and all that. You got some material, you want to write a book? And a black-owned publisher in Seattle, Washington, big publishing company. And I wasn't ready then when she reached out in 2015. But 2018 come around, and I was like, I think I'm ready. And I got a lot of logistical stuff together. And she told me, she said, it's a good manuscript. She said, I'm going to change some stuff up because for legal reasons, we didn't put names in any dates and times and all that stuff. And it was published. Again, it's The Rose That Persevered, ROSE, That Persevered. And it's on Amazon, published by Life Chronicles Publishing, and wrote by me. And there's different stories of things that I've gone through, and I'm working on book 2, and that's also going to be part 2 of some of the things that I've gone through. Not being accusatory to anybody in the book, but just being vulnerable, a healthy vulnerability. And I've had a lot of great reviews from that, people saying, hey, you helped me walk out of my trauma, me not sitting in it no more. Like, wow, I can actually just do something, finish my book, go motivational speak, or hey, like, I'm not in denial anymore. Thank you for this. I'm in full support. What are you doing next? And, it's time for something new. And one thing that I realized, also jump to another level of conversation, is that when I learned myself outside of trauma, I have learned that I could do so many things. I can draw a little bit. I can paint a little bit. I'm IT, smart. Learning wise, I graduated top of my class at Clark Atlanta University. I graduated summa cum laude. So for my associates, I plan on summa cum laude for my master's of science in cyber psychology. And I, even with designing this podcast song and designing the graphic design work, all of that, I've learned so much about myself that what I pick up that I can do, and that's just levels of trauma. Like when you heal, you can expose. You don't understand the exposure level that you're about to like get into is different. You just pick up something one day and like, oh my gosh, I could do that. It is what it is, and get bored with it and find out that you can do something next. So that's just like that's been a joy for me. But yeah.
Yes. Why don't you, because I know we can talk a while, so you may want to wrap up. Why don't you explain, number one, Persperity. Two, you talk about purple and purple rose and all that. Tell people what's behind that for you.
Persperity, which is Persperity, it's persevere and prosperity put together. During this time of this podcasting, we're going to persevere, and we're going to understand the prospering that goes with that. Not harboring, not sitting on it, not feeling, that you're defeated. We're going to prosper. We're not going to blame anybody. We're going to hold ourselves accountable. And like the Purple Rose Enterprise, which is my LLC business. That, on the other hand, I do not know why this keeps on doing what it's doing. But that, on the other hand, is persevering purple put together, which is persevering worldly. So, yeah, it's just the persevere is always going to be the thing that I'm always highlighting, and then the mindful moments equal prosperous lives. That's my tagline. I own that. That's mine. That's me. Because if you're mindful in the moment that when you're frustrated, upset, overwhelmed, or just feeling that somebody's rejecting you, and you're not understanding somebody, then you'll understand that, hey, I can prosper through, I'm going to get blessed because I didn't react a certain type of way. I didn't, get upset, get frustrated, or react and make somebody feel some type of way. So, yeah.
All right. So what type of guests are you going to have on your podcast?
So, guests to come are going to be people that have gone through different traumas that have overcome. I also want to have some mental health professionals on here. We're going to have some just different dialogues with different people, but I want the connection to be there, not disconnect. This connection where we're flowing. It's not going to always be this personal where this person is sitting right next to me. It's going to be on a platform where that person is, you're going to see them in a different area. Like they may be, virtual aspect. So I'm going to be seeing that. We're going to be covering so many different things. Again, this is a rough first episode, but trust the process because when it's God, it's going to work. And in this is God, it's going to work. Because the scripture of this episode is John 4:24. God is spirit, and those that believe in God must believe in God in spirit and in truth. Because we had to believe God that we was going to get on this podcast. We was going to make it work. And we was going to trust the whole thing. So, in that, I want to thank my mom for being here. I'm open for suggestions, feedback, or whatever concerning this. And I hope that when I see many of you out in public or even at Harvest Church, that, if you watch this episode, just give me a wave. Because that lets me know that you're in tune with what's going on with people that have gone through trauma, but also that you tuned in. And that's important for me.
You got some shout-outs? I got some shout-outs.
Go ahead.
First of all, shout-out to Harvest Church. We already got some shout-out. Pastor Steve Help. Dr. Donna Leah Help. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to do that. And then, of course, all of my people, all of my family, love you. Thank you, those of you who are watching. And then a shout out again, Terica Lynn Smith, TLC Inner Circle, all of us. We are out here doing what we are to do for kingdom business. So I just wanted to do those few shout outs while I'm out here. While I'm on here. You know how she looks at me? See, this is that daughter, mother.
No, I understand. I was just looking. But also, let me shout out to the fact, too, of our businesses that she has. She has a consulting business, Promise Consulting. And she also has a tutoring business called Destiny Learning, as well as a real estate investing company called 4KB Investments. And so, definitely reach out to her. If you're on our social media, you already know that you can just inbox her. You got her number, contact her. You don't know what God may be doing with this connection that you may have there.
That's true.
If you want to collab,
some things.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you go. If you want to collab with me on some things, you got some suggestions, or you on the show, or just feel led to reach out to me, please do so. Reach out to my mom, and she'll direct you on how you can get in contact with me, because I want to be connected with people. I don't want to be distant. So I appreciate everybody coming in to tune into this episode, and the first episode of Persperity Podcast. And in closing to that, I am going to play my song because I know there's many people that didn't get to hear it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to play Persperity Podcast, Mindful Moments Equal Prosperous Lives.
Again, she owed all rights to this song.
Yes. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
In the shadows we find our light. Through the shadows we will take flight. Healing hearts and mending minds. Together we'll leave the past behind. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Huddle whispers, but love will shout. In this space and trust, there's no doubt. We'll explore the depths of pain and grace, finding strength in every embrace. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Track a breath and join the ride. Together we'll walk side by side with open hearts and open minds. In this podcast space, true peace we'll find. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma.